Today we're covering a third place Aquaforce build that took Puerto Rico for BSF. This season has been really interesting because we had the ban list a couple months ago, but BSF only has less than half of the events containing premium format. So literally we've been seeing some interesting decks over the past few months, and I'm just happy to see Aquaforce being represented. Jose Nieves is the one that piloted this deck. I've actually covered deck lists prior for him a couple years ago on this channel too, so it's great to see him again doing so well with Aquaforce. I'm going to cover 3 highlights that I saw with this deck build, and he even gave me the matchups that he faced, and I'll bring them up as they come up with the card ratios. So let's get right into it. Check out Dueling Guard's deck boxes, playmats, and binders. They're great quality products that are anime based. They continually have more anime options becoming available. Use the affiliated link in the description for a 5% discount on your next purchase. So right off the bat, we're seeing 2 copies of the G Thavas and with 2 copies of the V Thavas. So we're doing the 2-2 split. And we have multiple ways of getting that. We have the G Nikki and also 3 copies of the V Nikki. So there's some consistency there still of what to dictate depending on the matchup you have. What I did notice right at the back, and this is the first highlight, he is playing the grade 4 Lambros and the grade 4 Magnolia Elder in the main deck. And this enables the stride down play. Essentially, you're able to ride back to grade 2 to deny stride. This comes up in matchups years ago a lot because we didn't have history collection just yet to be able to superior stride regardless of our opponent's grade. As soon as you're right to grade 3, in order to be able to stride, both players had to be a grade 3. So if you're able to get that one turn before it comes back to them to be able just to stride regardless, that momentum can really go in your favor. That was represented back then years ago, but it does come up once in a while here. It came up at 2 matchups specifically for him, for the Narukami matchup and also the Royal Paladins, specifically Jewel Knights. And both of them just didn't have their grade 3 boss that's able to utilize a history collection stride or even the Royal Paladin one. So it worked out in his favor in this case too. The other thing with Thavas too, with Pursuit Assault, like you need the bodies. Some of the challenging things back then was that just having 3 bodies to rest to be able to do the pseudo stride to begin with. So that's one of the challenges that the deck has potentially. But we're still picking back in on Coral Assault. We got Repressed Strike Dragon over here as well. He also mentioned that he wanted to use Counterblast not only for his strides but also for Repressed Strike Dragon to just be able to apply as much pressure as possible. We got 4 Narissa too. This is a great target to be able to rest as well. And as we scroll down, obviously you see the Spice, but we'll get there when we get there. I wanted to highlight 2 Hanalis and the Unstateable Dragon too. It's just having with the survivability aspect, but of course there are other decks that just do better than us as Aquaforce. We want to hard limit their high multi-attack turns essentially so we can survive. Unstateable Dragon is a really good card too because we have that awkward wave 3 and wave 2nd where Gaphilia isn't the best shield and we would appreciate just more shield in general, and this can actually come up as a 30k shield. Not only that, you could also just pay the cost for a G Guardian for this, so this you could expedite your G Zone, being able to have more cards face up in the G Zone for Valeos, Alexandros, Faragas, you know, cards that actually scale with more cards face up in the G Zone while getting the shield value too. So you may have noticed Cloris, but I also want to point out Bracing Angel Ladder and Sweet Shop as well. And going into Cloris, what she actually does, if you don't know, is that she has a rear guard skill at the beginning of the guard step that your unit was attacked. You could choose any number of face up cards from your bind zone and call them to Guardian Circle as rested. And then those units get an additional 5k shield onto the end of that battle. So you're thinking like, okay, so you get shield value, but from the bind zone. So how do we get things into the bind zone? The first skill also works where it is wave 4 or more. When this unit boosts, you can Soul Blast a card, bind the type card over your deck. So that's how you can start fueling the bind zone that way. But what's also cool with Sweet Shop, this is relatively new earlier in the year in the English, you can move your rear guards into the Guardian Circle, get the shield value there, but also as soon as they are retired, as soon as they're done with that battle, they're not retired, they actually send to the bind. So literally Sweet Shop actually fuels for Cloris. This is an idea that Deckflare had mentioned to me early on, and he even made a video on it too. I definitely encourage you to check him out. Very creative. But I would say with Jose's case, he took a package part of it. He didn't go full blown compared to Deckflare, but the essence is still there. The other notable thing is that he did a 2-2 split on the heals. So this heal, when you discard them, you could actually bind 2 heal to be able to countercharge or soul charge. You get your resources back, and he even mentioned that he appreciated the counterblast too, having that for his restanders, his strides, and maybe if the soul comes up. But the key thing is that it binds 2 heals, and both this Iradad is 15k shield, but also the grade 3 heals are 15k shield. So now whenever Cloris calls them, it's 20k shield for each of them. And so you could actually just have 40k shield just for free by just G-guarding and sending that up for Chloris on the following turn. The 40k shield is very appreciative in Aquaforce. Again, I mean, I was just highlighting Unseeable Dragon for 30k shield on wave 2nd and 3rd. And there's some cool things that if you do bind stuff like Pascal, you can actually call Pascal to Guardian Circle with Chloris. And since it was called, it was basically placed, and you can use Pascal's Perfect Guard Gale to Perfect Guard that way. I do want to highlight that Sweet Shop moves cards to the Guardian Circle from the Rearguard Circle, and the old PGs with the draw triggers specifically say when they're placed, so move does not count. The reason that the new Perfect Guards in these series work with Sweet Shop, especially as we saw with Night Rose earlier this year, is because they say put. Put actually includes both place and move. So I just wanted to point that out too. What's also funny too is Bracing Angel Ladder is to protect your Chlorises. One of the major concerns was the Narukami matchup because, or any removal to be honest, is because a card like Chloris is a sitting duck. Right, and so if they get rid of it by an effect, then your shield value is just gone out the window. So that's one of the reasons that Chloris fell out long time ago. Is this removal gets rid of it unless you have multiples, and he only plays 2. Bracing Angel Ladder protects that Chloris, so that way you at least have that guaranteed turn of shield value, especially if you know that's going to come up soon. And this really also came up in his other matchups too. Narukami, of course, and then also I think Kagero he mentioned too. And then we'll just wrap up with the G-Zone. So pretty much all the G-Zone looks pretty standard. Since we're playing G Thavas, we have 2 copies of Tidal Bore, we have 2 Lambros, in case we don't have a counterblast to use, so that's always a good fallback to while flipping something as well. The one Alexandros to put the nail in the coffin, essentially. And then even phenomenal strides such as like Faragas to be able to do the same thing. And then also just to deal with the overtrigger Valeos. Don't forget we can negate essentially an OT going off and ruining our turn. So overall, Aquaforce is still alive, and I appreciate Jose doing so well, taking this as well, and taking some inspiration probably from other players too. Really cool creativity too, and I'm glad that something that even, you know, Deckflare brought to my attention earlier this year has come about with some results too. So I'm just appreciative of that. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments too. What do you think of this Chloris tech, or potentially any other Aquaforce techs that we can use, or probably use coming up this new sets of Stoicheia support too? Always open to new ideas and engaging conversation. And if you want to see more premium content or standard content, click on one of these videos next. Till next time, amigos. Bye!